Hello everyone and welcome back to Invincible Guarding the Globe, and today I'll be going over the best hero skill upgrades part 2. So if you do enjoy today's video, then feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, thanks for all of the support on the previous videos and welcome to all of the new viewers. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So today I'll be going over some of the best skill upgrades for some heroes in the game. Today I'm going to be focusing on one hero from each faction. This is a follow-up from my previous videos, so if you haven't seen that already, then feel free to check that out. And yeah, I'll be going into the heroes, explaining the skills, and telling you why they would be great to invest in to upgrade your heroes. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So firstly, I'm going to start off with the GDA faction. Last time we covered Shapesmith, who obviously is very good. This time we are actually going to cover Donald. Now Donald is an interesting one. He was added to the game not too long ago, and he is a pretty good hero, especially with his skills leveled up. So if you have a look at him here, he's obviously from the GDA faction. His tags include ranged, Cecil secrets, armed and grounded, so not too many. He is an attacker, so he is a damage dealer. And yeah, let's have a look at his skills. So his first skill, Ferguson's Fireworks. At level 1, Donald fires 6 missiles at random targets. Each explosion deals 30% damage to nearby enemies, and this has a cooldown of 17 seconds. So at level 1, this ability just does a no-ite amount of damage, but nothing too crazy, to be honest. It's very, very weak at level 1. But if we have a look at this skill at level 10 and 15, it's still 6 missiles, but now it deals 120% damage, which is a massive difference, and benefits from a 50% critical damage boost. So 50% extra damage with critical damage, which obviously is more than regular damage. So a big boost to the actual damage from the main ability from level 1 to 10. Still 17-second cooldown, but if we have a look at level 15, again it stays at 6 missiles, but the damage is increased to 175% and an 80% critical damage boost, and the cooldown is reduced by 1 second to 16 seconds. So 17 seconds is already a quick cooldown, 16 is even better, obviously. Now I've got this ability to level 10. You can, if you want to, take it all the way to 15, and you see that it does actually increase the damage quite a bit further. But even just from level 1 to 10, there is a massive difference in basically just the absolute damage that the ability does. Now if we have a look at his passive here, Contingency Protocol. When fighting alongside a leader, Donald increases his team's defense by 6%, so pretty self-explanatory. When there's a leader on your team, Donald increases your team's defense by 6%. Now if we have a look at this at level 10, this percentage again, same reasoning. He needs a leader on the team. The defense is actually increased up to 18% for your team's defense, which includes his own, I believe. So that is quite a big defense buff. So especially if you have like a defender or some supports and they need to stay alive longer in the fight, an 18% straight buff is fantastic. Additionally, he gains a 50% critical damage boost each time a Cecil's secret ally is defeated, and this can stack up to 10 times. Now, Cecil's secret is quite a niche sub-faction. Let me just find it here. Yeah, it only really includes Donald and Conquest, and in this case, Tech Jacket. I'm not sure why Tech Jacket's there. It also includes Darkwing 2, but nobody should have him on their team. So it's really Conquest. So if you have a Conquest on your team and he dies, then Donald gets a nice critical damage boost with it. However, it's nothing too crazy, and that's probably the least part of the passive. The main thing is just the defense buff, and if you upgrade it to level 15, it goes up to 20% on the defense buff for your team. So not a big difference there. You could probably get this to level 10 and be happy with that. It's basically just a nice buff for your defense on your team. However, the main part of Donald's kit is his third ability, Fail-Safe Burnout. So at level 1, it's alright. After each fire burst, which is basically his main attack, Donald gains a 1% critical chance boost, and this stacks up to 100%, meaning that if it does get to 100%, then it means that every attack will be a critical hit. If he is stunned, However, at level 1, he loses 100% of the accumulated critical chance, minimum 0%. So basically what this means is that if he gets stunned and you have the skill at level 1, he will lose all of the critical chance boost that he's gained so far. Additionally, every 6 fire bursts, Donald dashes away from his target and gains a 10% critical damage boost for 3 seconds. So there's a few things with this. So firstly, every burst, he gains a 1% critical chance boost. So he gets an extra percentage of chance to do the critical hit. And every 6 bursts, he dashes away from his target and he gains a 10% critical damage boost. So not a chance, a damage boost for 3 seconds. So they both work together. Obviously, the higher the chance, the more critical hits he'll be doing. And then obviously with that, he will then every 6 bursts be getting an additional damage on top of that. So you can kind of see how if the fight is allowed to continue and as long as he's not stunned, he can build up a large amount of damage. However, if you can get this skill to level 10, that's when there is a big difference with him. So again, after each fire burst, this is at level 10, Donald gains a 2.5% critical chance boost instead of the 1%, so a big difference there, because after every single attack, up to 100%, of course. If he is stunned, he loses 60% of the accumulated critical chance, minimum 0%. So what this means is that basically, if he is stunned, he doesn't lose all of the critical chance boost that he's gained, only 60%. And he becomes immune to all damage for 4.5 seconds. This effect can trigger 1 time per battle. So if he is stunned, he doesn't lose all of the critical chance boost now, and he becomes immune to all damage for 4.5 seconds, which is great. So that means that if an enemy does target him and stun him, then he can basically become immune and not lose all of the critical chance boost. Additionally, every 5 bursts, so not every 6, every 5 bursts, so you can do it more often, Donald dashes away from his target and gains a 20% critical damage boost for 3 seconds. So both of these together are fantastic because the first part of it means that he will be doing more critical hits and dealing a large amount of damage with that. And after 5 bursts, he'll actually be gaining critical damage boost, which because he will have the critical chance built up, it means it'll be doing a huge amount of damage every 5 bursts. Now, if you can get this all the way up to level 15, it's even crazier. So again, he gains 2.5% critical chance boost up to 100%, so same as before. However, if he is stunned, he now only loses 30% of the accumulated critical chance, not 60, which is a huge difference. So if he is stunned, he only loses basically a third of the critical chance he's built up, becomes immune to all damage for 5 seconds, so only half a second different there. This can still only trigger 1 time a battle with the immunity. The 1 time per battle obviously means the immunity part, not the critical chance boost. Additionally, every 4 bursts, so instead of 5, every 4 bursts, he dashes away and gains a 24% critical damage boost for 3 seconds. So level 15 is even crazier. Even at level 10, it's a massive difference between level 1 and level 10. So if you can level Donald up, and especially this 3rd skill, that's where you really see the difference. The 1st and 3rd skill, I think, are definitely the most important. Now, his 4th and final skill is all right, but it's nothing too crazy because it requires Donald to die, and you don't really want that. It's called It's Been an Honor, Sir. And the skill is, upon death, Donald self-destructs, triggering an explosion that deals 160% damage to all enemies as a guaranteed critical strike. So he basically dies, he blows himself up and deals a decent amount of damage to the enemies. If you level this up to level 10, however, the percentage is increased to 300% damage, which is a big difference. Each impacted enemy has a 60% chance of losing their shield at level 10 as well. So if they do have a shield, then they have above half percentage to basically lose that shield so that they can take the damage, because if they have the shield, they might not take the damage. However, if you get this to level 15, and again, it's up to you if you want to do this, but it does mean that he deals even more damage if he dies, 375%, and each impacted enemy, which is all the enemies on the battlefield, they have a 100% chance of losing their shield. So it's guaranteed that if they have any shields, they will lose them, and Donald will deal this damage to them. So it's a pretty big chunk of damage. It's not like wiping out everything on the field, but it is a good chunk of damage. It's annoying that he needs to die to be able to trigger it. So you can get this one if you are building Donald and you want him to be really strong. You can build it probably to 10, maybe 15 if you're trying to max him out. But the main differences in his skills are with his first and third skill, definitely. So we'll have a look at that in action just now, just to have a sort of rough look at how that plays out. I'll put him in just with Immortal, because Immortal is a leader, so he'll increase the defense of the Immortal there, and you'll see how that works here. So obviously in this case it's just 2 of them, but obviously the Immortal sort of baiting the enemies away, and you can see that Donald is dashing around, and with each dash he is then gaining the critical damage boost, and with each burst he's obviously building up the critical percentage. Now if he is stunned, which he's just been tried to there, you can see that he gained the immunity shield and survived, and then his main attack actually took out most of the enemies there. So you can see as the fight goes longer, Donald becomes stronger, which is obviously very fun and very good. So yeah, that's Donald. The next hero I want to have a look at is probably one of the top at least 3 in the game, and that is Blue Suit Invincible, Black and Blue Suit Invincible. Now he is a fantastic hero, especially with his skills leveled up. So he is an attacker, he is from the faction Earth Defenders, and his tags include Viltrumites, Human, Melee, Last Line of Defense, and Flying. And it's worthy to note as well that he does have a totem, and the totem is also extremely powerful. I did forget to mention actually that for Donald, the artifacts to use, I'll quickly just go back here. In this case I have the body enhancement available because it increases critical chance by 15% for each original Guardian of the Globe or Guardian of the Globe in your ally in your team. So obviously he's a GDA hero, so for example with the other Guardians of the Globe, an extra critical chance boost is very powerful for him because it helps build up his critical chance even sooner. So that's the artifact I have for Donald. But going back to Black and Blue Suit Invincible here, his totem, if we have a quick look at that, Conquest's Arm Fragment. When Invincible's HP drops below 40%, he immediately gains an attack boost for 8 seconds, equal to, and I think at level 1 it is 25%, at level 10 onwards it's 27, and as you can see here, if we get it to level 20, it then goes up to 29% of the attack of the enemy with the highest attack stat. So basically when he becomes low HP, he then gets a damage boost for 8 seconds, which is pretty sizable depending on your opponent. So very strong totem, and it works especially well with his skills, which we'll have a look at just now. So his first skill, Fists of Fury, at level 1 is alright, pretty strong actually for a level 1 ability, but it gets even better from level 1 to 10 and 10 to 15. So at level 1, Invincible dashes towards the enemy with the lowest HP, pushing them while delivering a rapid combo of punches that deals 125% of his base damage and 15% true damage, ignoring the enemy's defense. This has a cooldown of 16 seconds. So firstly, very quick cooldown, which is nice. Secondly, 125% of his base damage is alright. Base damage basically means that it's not including his the gear you have on him and things like that. But 15% true damage is very interesting because true damage, as it says here, ignores the enemy's defense. So if the enemy has is a defender and they have a high defense, basically the true damage will ignore any defense, any healing, anything like this, and just deal the damage itself without any buffers basically against it. So true damage is extremely strong, and even 15% is good. But if we have a look at this at level 10, the base damage is increased to 350%, and the true damage is increased to 25%. So even at level 10, an extra 10% true damage, ignoring enemy's defense, is very strong and deals a large amount of damage. If you can get this to level 15, however, it's still then 25% true damage. The base damage is increased to 375%, but the cooldown is reduced to 15 seconds, which is even faster. So you can probably get this to level 10 and be very happy with it, because the true damage doesn't change at level 15. But if you are wanting to max him out, then level 15 is great because he gets an extra second cooldown and some more base damage as well. If we have a look at his passive then, at level 1, it's nothing crazy. It's called Killer's Instinct. When fighting alongside at least one other attacker, all melee allies gain 1% life leech and 2% attack boost each time Invincible kills an enemy. This can stack up to 6 times, so pretty self-explanatory, but obviously this is only triggered when Invincible kills an enemy, not when one of your allies kills an enemy. If we have a look at level 10, however, all melee allies gain 10% life leech and a 12% attack boost each time he kills an enemy. This can stack up to 7 times. If the enemy is an invader or Viltrumite, Invincible gains an extra 5% life leech and 3% attack boost. So quite a big difference in the stats there, and he gains a stat for himself each time he kills an enemy. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, he has to kill the enemies, and sometimes that might not happen. Just because of the nature of the game. However, if you have a look at the other abilities in a minute, you'll see why this works so well alongside his other abilities, because his other abilities mean that he can actually get most of the kills in a fight. Now, if you do get this level 15, the percentages for your melee allies are increased on the life leech from 10% to 10%, so it doesn't change, and attack boost is 12% to 12%, so no change there. The only change is the life leech. Life leech stays at 5%. The only thing that actually changes is his attack boost for himself goes from 3% to 8%. So probably you can leave this at level 10 and be happy with it. Now, if we have a look at the next ability here, Shielded Fury. At level 1, when any type of shield or immunity is active on him, Invincible's basic attacks deal an extra 2% true damage, which is obviously we've talked about before, ignoring enemies' defenses. Once per battle, when an ally's HP drops below 15%, he dashes towards the enemy that dealt the damage and taunts them, becoming immune to all damage for 4 seconds. So at level 1, this is alright because he gets basically just an extra 2% true damage when a shield or immunity is applied to him. And heroes such as Armored Atom Eve, Regular Atom Eve, or General Krieg obviously apply these during battle, and it works extremely well with him. And then if an ally does become low HP, he basically dashes over, taunts the enemy so the enemy stops attacking your ally and attacks him instead, and becomes immune to all damage for 4 seconds, which is pretty good, so that he can basically taunt the enemy and then they can't deal any damage to him. However, at level 10, this is increased in several areas. So again, with any shield or immunity on him, he gains an extra 6% true damage, so 3 times as much, which is great, and grants a 10% life leech. Now, life leech isn't that strong. In some cases, when you can kind of stack it up, it does a decent amount of healing for your hero, but life leech probably isn't the main focus here. The main focus is definitely the true damage. And then again, once per battle, when an ally's HP drops to 15%, he dashes towards the enemy that dealt the damage and taunts them, becoming immune to all damage for 6.5 seconds. The immunity is actually increased quite dramatically to 6.5%. And then if you get this to level 15, the true damage goes from 6% to 6.5, so not the biggest difference there. 15% life leech compared to 10%, so again, life leech is and then the immunity goes from 6.5 seconds to 6.75, so not a big difference there. So again, this skill you can probably leave at level 10, but between level 10 and level 1, it's a big difference in the stats. Now, the main thing for Invincible getting kills himself is his 4th ability, Skullbreaker. Now, at level 1, when an enemy's HP drops to 20%, Invincible rushes in to deliver a series of 3 headbutts, dealing a total of 12% of the enemy's max HP as damage. However, 40% of the damage dealt is also applied to him, and this has a cooldown of 12 seconds. So what this means is when an enemy's health drops to 20%, so when they become low HP, he rushes in and delivers a large amount of damage to them, but he does receive a good amount of damage back to himself. So it's alright, but it's quite risky because he deals the damage back to himself. However, at level 10, it's when the enemy's HP drops to 25%. He again does 3 headbutts, but this time it deals 25% of the enemy's max HP as damage. So basically, when the enemy gets to 25% HP, Invincible then deals 3 headbutts, dealing the 25% HP left as damage. Now, if they become healed, during this, or they obviously have defense, then it can negate that, but it's a large amount of damage, and it kind of it's almost basically the amount of HP they have left is dealt to them, so you can basically almost guarantee that he will kill them with this. However, at level 10, 20% of the damage is only applied to him, so instead of 40, he actually receives back less damage, which is great. And additionally, his main skill charges by 30%, and now the cooldown is 8 seconds on this instead of 12. So lower cooldown, and his main skill charges up, which we already know has a short cooldown. So he can then basically, if the headbutts don't kill them, his main ability, which he charges up, probably will with the true damage, again ignoring their defense. So incredibly powerful. And if you get this to level 15, it's even better. So again, it's when the enemy HP drops 25%. Again, it's 3 headbutts. However, and again, sorry, it's 25% of the enemy's damage, max HP as damage. However, 15% of the damage applied is now dealt back to Invincible instead of 20%. So 5% there is saved obviously for Invincible, and the main skill charges by 35%, so an even further increase on the main skill charge. So this one you could maybe leave at 10, but if you can get to 15, I'd probably say, as I have here, the first and fourth ability at 15, and the other two at 10, make a huge difference to his kit, and just make him super powerful. So we'll have a quick look at him in action. I'll probably just put him in. He needs to fight alongside an attacker, doesn't he? So I'll put him alongside someone else, maybe not so strong, maybe a Nolan who boosts Viltrumites. See how that goes, but you'll see him deal a large amount of damage here. And actually, I'm going to put him in with an attacker and Armored Atom Eve, so you can see the shield in action. Let's see, we'll put him in with Rexplode. Why not? You should see here that with the shield on, he'll deal a large amount of damage to the enemies. As you can see, he already wiped out Bulletproof there. He's almost killed OG Invincible, and he's about to use his main ability. Now, it doesn't go through immunity shields, as you see, it didn't actually break through it, but you can see he's absolutely wrecking shop. He just killed Battle Beast with the headbutts, and this poor Red Rush is dead in seconds. So you can see he is very powerful, especially with the skills leveled up there, which is great. I'm just going to quickly, that's got a minute left, I'm just waiting for that to come back. And then if we have a look at From Worlds Beyond, the hero I'm going to be looking at today is Anissa. Now, Anissa is again probably one of the best in the game, and that's simply because probably of 2 of her skills, kind of like Blue Suit Invincible. Again, she's an attacker, she's from Worlds Beyond, and her tags are Viltrumites, Melee, Invaders, and Flying. With the artifacts on this, I've got the Flax and Stun device. Also, artifacts that work great are the GDA cloaking device. Same goes for Blue Suit Invincible actually as well. And let's have a look at the skills. So her main skill is interesting. It's called Out of This World. At level 1, Anissa pushes the enemy and then punches them out of the battle for a duration of 2 seconds, dealing 350% of her base attack as damage in total, and this has a cooldown of 22 seconds. So a nice amount of damage, and it basically punches them out of the battle so that they can't attack your team and your team can't attack them. And a 22-second cooldown is alright. It's maybe a little bit on the longer side, but it's alright. So at level 1, it's nothing crazy. But at level 10, it's increased to 4 seconds that the enemy is punched out of the battle. So for 4 seconds, they will be out of the battle, and your team can focus on the other enemies on the field before that enemy falls back down after the 4 seconds. So it basically allows your team to focus the rest of the team whilst that enemy is taken out of the fight. It now deals 395% of a base attack as damage, and it reduces their main skill ability charge by 20%. So a nice reduction of the main ability and a nice amount of damage there as well. The cooldown is now reduced to 20 seconds. If you get this to level 15, an extra second is added on, so it's 5 seconds that the enemy will be out. 420% of a damage attack is base attack damage is dealt, and it reduces their main ability by 25%. Again, cooldown 20 seconds. So even at level 10, it's a massive difference, especially with the damage and the time they're out of the fight. If you can get it to level 15, then great. But at level 10, it's still good. Now, this is especially good in PvP. PvE can maybe be a bit detrimental because you maybe are wanting to defeat the enemies in a quicker time, and having them outside of the battle means you can't really do that. Obviously, up to you with that one. The passive, however, is her main, I guess, bonus that makes her super good, and that is called War of Attrition. At level 1, Anissa reduces the enemy's defense by 2% of her attack stat for each human on the enemy team. So for each human on the enemy team, she reduces the enemy's defense by 2%. Now at level 1, 2% for each human is alright, actually, it's okay. But if you get this to level 10, it's increased to 5% of her attack stat for each human on the enemy team. So if they have one human on the enemy team, the enemy team everyone gets 5% defense reduction of her attack stat, which if you have her leveled up high, it's actually a huge amount. And then if you get this to level 15, it's 6% of her attack stat for each human on the enemy team. Now, if there's 2 enemies, for example, that means it's 12% and so on. So it's very, very good. In addition, however, she increases her Viltrumite allies' critical chance by 20%. So, 1 second here. Yeah, 20%. So 20% is huge, especially if you pair her with Viltrumites, which you probably definitely will want to. So critical damage 20% is a big help as well. But the main thing is the reduction on the enemy's defense from the human enemies. It just makes a huge difference to the fight. Much bigger than it looks like on paper. So that's what makes her basically so good. Her third ability as well is fantastic. So at level 1, it's called Blast Through. When an enemy is pushed by an ally, not by Anissa, by an ally, Anissa dashes towards them, flying through any enemies in the way, dealing 200% of her base attack damage, while applying a bleeding effect of 100% of her base attack damage over 5 seconds, and this has a cooldown of 10 seconds. So it's alright, it deals a nice amount of damage, especially if you can fly through multiple enemies. It's nothing too crazy at level 1, but at level 10, the cooldown is halved to 5 seconds, which firstly is amazing. And secondly, the damage is increased to 225% of her base attack damage. Bleeding effect is now 120%. Over 5 seconds, and additionally a 90% reduction of healing received for the enemy for 5 seconds. So the enemies that she hits with this, 90% healing reduction for 5 seconds basically means they will only get 10% of any healing from their allies for a whole 5 seconds. So the cooldown reduction is amazing, and the healing reduction is amazing, and the damage itself is quite a huge amount. But if you can get this to level 15, the cooldown is reduced to 3 seconds, so it can trigger way more often. The damage is increased to 250% of her attack damage, base attack damage, and the bleeding effect is now 150%, so a big chunk of damage there. The 90% reduction of healing stays, but it will stay on the enemies for 7 seconds now. So if you can get this to level 10, fantastic. Level 15 is where you really see a big difference with Anissa, and this is what makes her just incredibly powerful, because if you can structure your team around her with allies that push enemies, or have, for example, a artifact that pushes them, then she'll be dashing all around the battlefield, dealing huge amounts of damage and reducing their healing, which just makes it super strong. Now, her fourth ability is alright. At level 1, it's called Unrelenting. If an enemy dies from the Blast Through ability, which is her third ability, Anissa fully charges her Out of the World ability's cooldown, which is her main ability. So basically, if she instantly kills someone with her third ability, she'll charge up her first ability straight away, which is pretty good, and it's a large amount of damage, especially at the higher levels for the third ability, so that's pretty alright. At level 10, it also increases her physical attack by 40% for 5 seconds. Now, you probably won't be insta-killing enemies that often with this, but it is nice to do. I'd probably get this to level 10. Level 15 isn't the biggest difference, it's only an additional 10% sorry, physical attack for 7 seconds. So if you are maxing her out, then it can be good to get it to 15, but otherwise at 10, the extra physical attack is nice to have, and it's 5 seconds is quite a long time. So yeah, that is Anissa. I'll throw her into a battle here. We probably, I've got her very highly leveled up, so we'll maybe just put her in against something that has humans in it. We'll do this, and we'll give her a Viltrumite just for the funsies. We'll give her Nolan, and yeah, you should see she'll wow, yeah, she's just one-shotting them, probably because of the human debuff. So not the greatest showcase there, I guess, but yeah, you can see she is just very, very powerful. Now if we go to the and again, artifacts for any attacker are great. So yeah, GDA, cloaking device, etc. She doesn't yet have a totem, which is interesting, but hopefully she'll get one soon. And the fourth hero I'm going to look at here is in the criminal faction, and that is going to be which one again? Dinosaurus. Yes, Dinosaurus. Dinosaurus is pretty new to the game, and he is a defender. His tags include duality, human, technologist, anti-hero, grounded, and melee. And his main skill, so he's got a totem rather. His totem is called Anders Manifesto, and it was just added to the game. At the start of the wave, Dinosaurus reduces enemies' main skill cooldown by 50%. Additionally, enemies above 90% HP also suffer a 25% reduction to their cooldown charge speed, which is great. So basically just a nice cooldown reduction for the against the enemies, and also charging speed reduction against enemies with high HP. So pretty nice there from Dinosaurus. If we have a look at his main skill at level 1, Dinosaurus savagely attacks his target. This skill is called For the Greater Good, dealing 200% of his current HP as damage, applying a bleeding effect that deals a total of 300% damage over 10 seconds. He then pushes the target back and has a cooldown of 17 seconds. So a nice amount of damage, pretty good cooldown as well, pushes the enemy, which is great. But if we have a look at this at level 10, there's a big difference. So 250% of his current HP as damage is dealt. Now obviously this is his current HP, so if Dinosaurus is low in health, this won't actually deal as much damage, so you want him to be quite high health if possible. Bleeding effect, total of 350% damage over 10 seconds, so big difference there. He then pushes the target back again and gains a shield equal to 70% of his current HP for 5 seconds and cooldown of 16 seconds. So really quick cooldown, he gains a shield and he deals a large amount of damage, which is fantastic. If you get this to level 15, then he now deals 300% of his current HP, a bleeding effect of 400% over 10 seconds, and he gains a shield to 100% of his current HP for 5 seconds, while increasing the charges of Having Fun by 3%, and the cooldown is reduced further to 15. So massive differences there. The shield is fantastic, the damage is fantastic, and the charges for Having Fun is one of his other abilities, and we'll go into that in a second, is also great, and a very quick cooldown. So fantastic main ability, especially with the differences up to level 10 and even to 15. If you have a look at his passive, at level 1, it's called Unexpected Allies. Dinosaurus increases his team's max HP by 3% if there are any last line of defense allies on the team. So a pretty decent just buff if you have a last line of defense ally. Pretty self-explanatory, and okay, 3% isn't the craziest though, but at level 10, it's increased to 10% HP boost, which is great. Additionally, at the start of the wave, he charges his main skill, which we've just looked at, For the Greater Good, by 50%. So 50% at the start of the battle, the main skill will charge if there are any leader characters on the enemy team. Now, leader characters are actually very common in the game, and some of the best ones, for example, Universa, General Krieg, Doc Seismic, Thrag. So you're pretty much guaranteed to come up against the leader. Now this won't trigger otherwise, but obviously if there is a leader, which is a very high chance, then it charges his main skill, which we've already established is super powerful. Now if you get this to level 15, he now increases his team's max HP by 15%, which is amazing. Additionally, at the start of the wave, he now charges his main skill by 100% if there's a leader on the enemy team. So basically, if there's a leader on the enemy team, he will instantly use his main ability on the enemy, which is, again, fantastic and really good. So if you can get this skill to level 10, especially to level 15, you will notice a big difference in his kit. Now, his third skill is what the first skill referenced with the skill called Having Fun. At level 1, Dinosaurus gains 1 charge each time he attacks an enemy affected by bleeding. Upon reaching 15 charges, he heals himself for 10% of his max HP. All charges are consumed. So basically he gains charges each time he attacks an enemy affected by bleeding. Once he gets to 15 charges, he heals himself for 10% of his HP. So pretty self-explanatory. And obviously his main skill, when you have that leveled up, gives him 3 charges when he uses it. And if there's a leader on the enemy team and you have the second skill to 15, that basically means he will start off the battle with a guaranteed minimum 3 charges, which is great. However, if you get this to level 10, he then only needs 11 charges to activate this ability, healing himself for 15% of his max HP now, and increases his team's main skill charge by 15%. So fantastic differences there. And at level 15, it's even crazier because he now only needs to reach 10 charges. He heals himself by 20% and increases his team's main skill charge by 20% as well. So fantastic differences there. And so if you can get this to level 10 or to 15, it makes a massive difference to his kit. And his last skill, Do Not Interrupt. When Dinosaurus is pushed, he immediately leaps towards the enemy that pushed him, dealing 30% of his max HP total as damage, along with 75% life leech. So if an enemy pushes him, which is probably likely within most battles, he then deals a large amount of damage back to them and gains some life leech to then rebuild his health. At level 10, you can see there's big differences here. So he now deals 40% of his max HP as damage, along with 100% life leech. Also applies bleeding damage over time equal to 130% damage over 5 seconds, and reduces the enemy's energy resistance by 15% for 5 seconds. So a huge amount of damage applied, a huge amount of life leech consumed, and even more damage over time with the bleeding effect as well, which obviously then helps trigger his Having Fun ability. And at level 15, it's even crazier. He now deals 45% of his max HP as damage. He gains 150% life leech, and he applies a bleeding damage over time equal to 160% damage over 5 seconds, and reduces the enemy's energy resistance by 25% for 5 seconds. So crazy differences. Again, Dinosaurus, probably, if you can get all of his skills to level 15, he will be an absolute monster, no pun intended. And yeah, will be crazy powerful for any team, especially obviously you would like ideally a last line of defense ally, and there to be a leader on the enemy team for him. So if we have a look here, my Dinosaurus isn't that high level, so I'm just going to put him in against this team. It has a leader, for example, and we'll put a last line of defense ally with him. So let's see, last line of defense, who should we put in with him? We'll give him a tech jacket, why not? No, we'll give him a robot life pod, and we'll find Dinosaurus. Where is he? Here. Now with him, I don't have many of his skills leveled up, so it might not be the greatest showcase, but you will be able to see here that he's dealing damage to them pretty strongly. Hopefully he doesn't die. That would be a little bit embarrassing. Again, he's not very high level. He might die here actually before he can do anything. Let's try a lower level and see how he plays out. So we want one with a leader. Now this has Flax and leader, so that works well. Let's try this. And yeah, he obviously I haven't got the skills leveled up, so you can't see him, I guess, in his prime. But yeah, he's super strong, especially with the skills leveled up. And yeah, that's the last hero for today. In terms of artifacts, maybe the hologram would be good, because he'll be using his main skill quite often throughout the battle, and it will help get your allies to use their main skills, or anything else that's great for a defender would also work with him. So yeah, if you did enjoy today's video, then feel free to leave a like on the video. A little bit of a longer one today, but yeah, feel free to leave a like, comment down below which heroes you'd like to see next, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, cheers, and see you in the next one.